And let's kick it off. So this is Matt Seaman from the Consortium for Service Innovation. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I think we have a very exciting topic today that Blizzard is going to take us through. And without a lot of other discussion, I'd like to turn it over to Blizzard to take us through this KCS in action call.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. So let me share this slide with you. Give me just a minute so it hits everybody. My name is Sabrina Meditz, and I'm joined here with Heidi Wagstaff. You'll meet her in just a moment. Here she is. And we're going to take you through KCS at Blizzard. We're going to walk you through a bit of the actual work process, the workflow. We have a little bit of proprietary information, so we've sectioned it off and tried to make it look like a workflow as much as we possibly can. My job here is to introduce Blizzard to you and to introduce the customer service portion of that. And then Heidi will take you through the rest of it. So let's talk about, hold on, there we go, Blizzard Entertainment. If you're unfamiliar with who we are the makers of video games, World of Warcraft, StarCraft, Heroes, Overwatch, Diablo, etc. You'll see a list of some of our current titles on the screen right now, the most recent additions to IPs that we have known and loved, well, for me personally, the majority of my lifetime. But we're more than just video games. We also are in the entertainment space. You may have seen a couple years ago, the Warcraft movie hit the theaters. In addition to that, we participate and even throw our own conventions. BlizzCon happens in Q4 every year, so if you're in Anaheim, come on down and join us, have a good time. You'll see a few pictures of BlizzCon there to your right. We're also in the esports space with the Overwatch League and several other titles in the competitive PvP space. You may have seen us on ESPN and other places. We're super huge in terms of culture and how important that is to us. You'll notice the pictures at the top are a little glimpse into our campus in Irvine. We have an orc that is the center portion of our core values in a statue in the courtyard, cast in bronze. So when we do core values, we mean it. And then you'll see a little glimpse into our building one of 27 different buildings here in Irvine, California. But we're more than just in Irvine. We actually have a fairly large global footprint. What you're seeing here is a quick little high-level snapshot of customer service. So our customer service locations, we have one here in Irvine, in Austin, Texas, in Cork, Ireland, Versailles, France, as well as Taipei, Taiwan, Seoul, South Korea, Shanghai, and Hangzhou, China. So we've got locations around the world, which means that we support a multitude of different languages. We also have a support site that helps handle and funnel the volume, as well as help us with service. More than just the box, and 90% of those visits are self-served, meaning they have either consumed knowledge and solved the problem themselves, or have taken advantage of an automation that solves the problem for them. Basically, no GM interaction, and by GM, I actually mean game master, or what you might refer to as a customer service representative. You're going to hear us talk about game masters consistently because it's part of our vernacular. But there was no interaction from the game master required. When there is, the volume that comes through is broken down into 3 different segments. One is live chat, which makes up about 20% of our volume. 73% of that is asynchronous tickets. And then 7% callback. So not an inbound call center, but an outbound call center. 7% of that makes up the remainder. So that's a quick snapshot of Blizzard, little quick snapshot of the customer service world inside of Blizzard. And with this, I'm going to hand it over to Heidi to walk you through the KCS workflow on the whole. So Heidi, if you will.
I'm too tall, I just realized. Hello. Let me just adjust that real quick. There we go. Hello, my name is Heidi Wagstaff. I coordinate our KCS system here at Blizzard Entertainment. So here is a picture of Overmind in the background. It is a nod to StarCraft 2 and a reason why we call the tool that we use for KCS Hive Mind. I could talk a lot of time about this, but I'm going to keep us on track to talk about KCS. If there's any questions, hit me up. I'll take you through everything you need to know about any of our games. HiveMind is a web-based interface to our KCS, which is Salesforce Knowledge. However, we are not using the Salesforce CRM. We're using our own home-built CRM, which is called Atlas. So the web-based version that is called HiveMind here looks as follows. If you visit that web page, you will arrive at a hub that will have all the information our game masters may need on their daily work, be it new information about games, patches, gameplay updates, or any kind of regular tools they are using throughout their days. This page is curated and updated by our support information team that used to look after our knowledge management system in the past. The KCS portion of this page is actually at the top. You can see the little search button, as well as the create article and article feedback button here. So thinking about working a game master job and processing player tickets, it would be very counterintuitive to switch back and forth all the time between Atlas, our CRM, and a web-based browser window for KCS. So I'm going to take you through a few of the regular solve loop activities a game master is going through. Let's look at a customer inquiry. This is a real inquiry. Someone had previously changed my name and country of origin on my account. I got customer service to merge my two emails together, but it still has the wrong name and country listed. My name is removed and I live in the USA. So what happens with every customer inquiry that comes in through our queues is that we have a machine learning algorithm look at it, analyze it, and then compare it to article IDs that have historically been linked to this or similar ticket text. It then creates a list of suggested articles and displays it within Atlas in a sidebar and iframe. It looks as follows. You have here a list of the different articles ranked by the most likely fitting article. You can also see these little tags called updated. These indicate if there has been a change to this article since the last time the game master has visited this specific article in the whole web browser view, which will give him all the information about problem-solving steps, the internal and external resolution. We have found in the past that game masters grow a little bit blind because there's no real differentiation between it's a simple typo fix or a content change. So this is on our list of items to work on going forward to make this clearer and to indicate if there has been a content change in the article or the resolution itself. However, for this example, we're going to have a look and see that the top two articles are the correct ones. It's updating the account name and the country change. So we're going to go ahead, press those little link buttons, and then complete the ticket, close it, and we're done. We do allow multiple links and use that information to identify if there's any patterns of articles used in conjunction with each other more frequently to update our processes and automations in that space. What if a problem is coming in where the machine learning hasn't really picked up that article yet? So let's have a look at our next example. This one is about an in-game issue. The quest name is It Was the Orc, Honest. The issue is Magmothregard doesn't spawn in his location while I have the quest. I've been waiting in the pit in Magmoth for roughly 10 minutes, already waiting for the quest target to spawn. He usually respawns fast. I barely have enough time to avoid aggroing him a second time, but now he's just not there at all. So again, machine learning will analyze the ticket text and create a list of suggested articles, which we can see here. Now, looking at these articles, we see quest issues being populated, some with the quest title, but none of these really show the correct one. So let's go ahead and search for magma regar. We type it in here. And yeah, fantastic. Somebody had already had this problem before, created an article. The game master can, of course, click on the link, open the web browser view, add his comments, look at the solution. But you can also see that this is a new issue with the new little tag. Fantastic.
Hi, Heidi. It's Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
We have one question in the chat about what part of the ticket text is used for search.
All of it.
Great. Thanks.
You're welcome. So if you would have arrived at this point and there is no article about the topic, we would now click on that little box here in the corner to open the Heismind view in the large browser view and create an article. That goes as follows. In this case, we're going to create an article for the customer problem, what needs to be purchased for full access to StarCraft 2. The language is already populated based on the region of the game master, and the article type will be by default problem. We also have information articles that mostly contain gameplay mechanic information or tool guides that are not customer problems. We will not be able to link those articles, but they're always important for our game masters to have at hand if they should need them. So we're going to push create here. And this is pretty much the same view as you would get if you would edit an article. What we have added over time is these little additional information pop-up boxes that show the game master who is creating the article what kind of content we're looking for in relation to our style guide in the individual boxes or areas of an article. This is helping our game masters create more consistent article types and articles based on the phrasing, the wording, and it makes it easier to push them out externally in a faster fashion. So we're going to fill this in. You can see it for the summary field as well, what should be here, what shouldn't be in here. And for the problem explanation, and so on and so forth. We're going further down. External resolution is in. Yes?
Can I pause you for just a quick second? We have a couple questions here. There's a large debate about if and what parts of this are Salesforce. So is the suggested article window Salesforce?
No.
Is any of it Salesforce?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So essentially the back end is Salesforce. The thing that's holding the database of information is Salesforce. Everything else that you're seeing is Visualforce pages created internally.
Okay, great. So let me look in the chat here. So are articles customer facing or internal only?
They're both.
And what tool are you using for the additional info?
It's Visualforce. You're talking about the screen tooltips would be Visualforce.
I think so, yeah. I think this question is, does Salesforce Knowledge have the machine learning aspect, or is it just the KV?
It does not. We built it on our own.
And the search is not Coveo, right?
The search is not Coveo.
Okay. Oh my God, it's so fast and furious. I'm barely hanging on. Is your KCS tool based on right answers? It sounds like no.
Is the what based on right answers?
The KCS tool.
No.
Yeah. And from the global ticket volume, how many tickets are fully solved by self-service articles and how many generate a ticket?
90%.
Are solved by self-service?
Self-service.
Amazing. How do you manage visibility by user in Salesforce Knowledge?
It's permissioning based on Salesforce. Here's the thing with the Salesforce questions, just FYI, everything that we built, it can be Salesforce agnostic. So I can put another system behind it that manages all of the access, et cetera, but the Visualforce pages just need new plugins to whatever system I choose next.
Great. Are you gathering the operating system information of the customer as well?
Depends on the problem.
You mentioned that you have articles broken into categories, questions about games and articles about tools. How do you use metadata to categorize articles? Are there any more categories?
So we're working on a longer term solution in that particular space. Right now we have can't pay, can't play, and gameplay as the three large buckets that we've grouped things into. And then you can sub-bucket that depending on game, operating system, et cetera. However, we're working on some technology that we'll actually talk about at the Member Summit as it relates to something called the Big Functioning Text Box that can gather and pull some additional information in. While I want to utilize the word bot, don't think bot. It's something that is more intelligent and less conversation. So more to come in Maine.
Is there an internal field for your public articles?
Yes, everything has an internal and an external field included in it. Once published or clicked to publish, we're only showing the external information externally.
Nice. And everything is homegrown, so how many people manage the back end?
So not everything is homegrown. The thing that is homegrown is the CRM, and we have an entire tech team that manages our CRM because of the integration within the games. This you're seeing is actually built-in Visualforce, and we have a team that manages our support portal externally. And we utilize those resources at the very least once a year for a milestone that makes improvement.
And are your articles public, or do customers have to sign in?
They're completely public. They need to sign in order to submit a ticket, however.
And then one more question about Salesforce. What exactly are you doing with Salesforce? I presume it's ticketing using Service Cloud, but is there a customer-facing portal?
We are not utilizing Service Cloud. We're utilizing our own homegrown CRM called Atlas. I'm utilizing the product called Knowledge.
Perfect. I'm writing this down. Atlas. Okay, we're caught up. Thank you so much. Carry on.
Awesome. No problem. Hello. So, okay. We're still in creating an article or editing an article. It would be the same view. We have some additional fields here that are available. The first one being, this article contains EU-specific content. So we have added this option because we have, from the get-go, shared the EU articles across the whole Americas and Europe. We're working towards using one article for the entire globe, including our Asian region. But in many cases, you have the same problem appearing in different regions. However, the solution is different based on your region, sometimes even country, because of legal requirements. So for example, I want to refund my game would have different legal requirements in different regions. So we want to be able to identify how often our players globally want to refund a game of ours, but we are not necessarily as interested in how this was solved in the individual regions. Chain summary, pretty self-explanatory. Validation statuses, we have these validation statuses. One point here just to make a note, the do not publish validation status is for articles. Often it's the information articles that contain information useful for our game masters, but not necessarily something that should be customer facing, or some more delicate articles that need to have a very skilled and well-trained content creator creating, and only them having the opportunity to either publish this or not. So this is basically a block of anyone below a specific KCS access level of being able to publish these articles.
Quick question.
Yes?
If we understand this correctly, a user logs in to submit a ticket, and 90% of the tickets are resolved by linked articles sent back to the users?
No, it is in 90% of visiting our web page, our support portal, and looking up what their problem is. They will be offered with either a knowledge article or an automation. 90% in those cases, it doesn't really come to the point of the customer sending in a ticket to speak with a game master.
Great. And so different, changing topics a little bit, is there a flow with the validation status? Can everyone make something that's immediately validated?
I'm going to come to that in a moment.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you.
Very welcome. Any other questions? Okay. So the primary product field here is to filter options externally and internally, and also for reporting purposes. So you can choose when you come to our support portal which IP you're having trouble with. It will trim down the search results based on which filters you're choosing here. Keywords, pretty straightforward. Tracking URL, getting to that also a little later in the presentation. So we would press submit, and because it doesn't populate immediately, to give reassurance to our game masters that the article has been submitted, we have this little field here that shows, yes, it will be available soon. And at the top, you can see the case number, which this newly created article was linked to. Any questions about the solve loop workflows?
One question about multi-language. Do you offer articles in several languages, and who translates them?
Getting to that in a moment.
Excellent.
Oh, an interesting point here, though, is because we are having, we're sharing the ENUS articles across the Americas and Europe. We're having ticket text coming in all the different languages that are spoken in these regions. And that means that our game masters are creating links between those different languages of ticket text and the fitting article ID. So the machine learning algorithm is technically language agnostic.
That's pretty cool. Can you differentiate linked articles that are helpful from those that are the resolution, since you can link multiple articles? So can you link, or can you designate an article as a reference article versus a resolution article?
No, we don't have that distinction.
Excellent. How do you generate keywords? Is it a human judgment, a machine learning implementation, or a human curated thesaurus?
It's human that inputs them. We have some workflows where these are looked over and improved, but it's also an area that we want to look into to have covered with machine learning in the future. So this one is still in its infancy.
Thank you. And now I think we're caught up.
Okay. So this is the solve loop. So let's come to our activities in the evolve loop. My apologies. I want to talk especially about the content health and the process integration parts of the evolve loop. And we're coming here to the questions around the flow throughout these different validation states. Like many other companies that implement KCS, we've also had a lot of wariness about giving too many people access to creating, editing, and publishing knowledge. We've had, and we still have our support information team who has been looking after our previous knowledge management system. And we have given the access rights to create knowledge to all our game masters from the get-go. However, the processing through these kinds of different levels or validation statuses was really concentrated around our support information group. So what they used to do, and still are doing, is having a look at, based on the characteristic of being demand-driven, had a look at those articles that are newly created, that are trending, and that are seeing a lot of links, and reviewed them. So they would validate these articles, would clean up their layout, make sure that there is no typos in them, add a policy, and validate them. Those that are used a lot would then also be made ready to be public, to be published on our support portal and pushed external. And of course, as it goes on, localize a good portion of them as well. We could show very good results with those articles that had been seeing a lot of reuse. On the one side, it's very organic, that if you have articles that are bubbling to the top with very specific problem statements, that we are going to get in touch with our development teams and say, like, this is a specific problem that is creating these many tickets on a weekly basis, and then have those conversations, which was very well received by the development teams, to have like really good information about what is exactly the problem, have that data of customers affected by the problem. And also for the externally published articles, we could see a very good deflection rate for these tickets. So over time, we were able to implement more and more of these processes needed to validate and publish, localize these articles into HiveMind and expand the access to those features to different groups. All game masters today can validate that a resolution is working. We have a good few GM publishers that can publish articles externally. And we will also in the future have our bilingual game masters help with localizing articles as they come across those articles in their daily work. To make sure that we're, yeah?
Oh, sorry, couple quick questions. So how soon is an article available if the agent wants to link it right after creation? So I think that's about how fast does it get delivered into self-service?
Do you mean externally or internally? For linking?
Sure. Let's do linking.
Okay. For linking, it takes, I think, about a minute to be available for other people to find with the search in the search bar within Blizzard. How soon it will be published will depend on how fast this article is trending, because we're still focusing on getting those articles out on our page that have the most impact on our customers, meaning that they're being linked often. I'll show you how and why in a moment.
Great. And then how many game masters do you have that contribute knowledge?
All of them.
So how many is that?
A few hundred.
Yeah, it really varies over time depending on what's occurring. So it ebbs and flows. So whatever the business needs in order to support volume, the answer is all. But it just depends on the time of year and what's going on.
Great. How do you measure deflection? How much time do we have?
Yeah, deflection's a hard number, right? So it's more than just people hit and bounce. There's lots of math that goes into Google Analytics that sort of tells sort of what's going on. There's a secondary tool we're looking at right now, not implemented, not endorsed, just saying, but the company name is Chartbeat, that looks at consumption of information on a site that can help us whittle that down further. And then, of course, there's some very direct things that we can look at in terms of deflection. But Google Analytics is our biggest in terms of measurement of deflection.
Excellent. You said you publish articles based on how they're trending. So what exactly does trending mean here?
We're going to talk about that in just a minute.
Perfect. And who is responsible for archiving articles, and how does that affect an article's searchability?
Our support information team has very key criteria that we run it. I think it's once a month, right? Once a month that looks at, does it hit, for example, 0 links, information. We review and audit each one of them before archiving it out. But we're not number phobic. However many articles we need. We don't try and whittle it to a number. So
perfect. We're caught up. Thank you.
I'm also going to talk in a moment about how we're making sure we're getting rid of duplicate articles nicely and cleanly, but more about that in a moment. So the trending, to decide which articles we want to really push forward in their life cycle. I'm going to show you how we're doing that in the regular Game Master workflow in just a moment. But what I want to add here on this page is that there is no limit between going backward or forward in the different validation statuses. If a Game Master publisher should be the one who's getting the very first problem of a customer where he thinks like, honestly, this is such an easy thing. I'm just going to push it out right away. There's no need to wait for this to be trending or anything. It's a one-liner. Players can find it then. He can do that. However, and this happens. However, we want to make sure that we do not skip over those articles that could have a big impact on our customers to self-serve, because we have seen a lot of links around them. And here's one way of doing that for the game masters who have the specific access rights. So for one, our game master publishers are also empowered and able to process feedback from game masters who are only KCS contributors. So they can leave feedback, say like, okay, this probably should go external, or this is a duplicate. And if game master publisher is working and comes across an article that does have active feedback that needs to be reviewed, they will see this little bell notification. If an article has either hit a lifetime link limit, I think at the moment we're at about 200 or something, or has seen a recent trend in or spiking in linking, that is regardless if it's a new or an old article, if there's something going on, this article is still internal, but should be either validated or published, depending on your level of access, they will see this notification. We also have a notification ready for localization. If you speak a language that has not been localized yet and it's an external article, it will be visible for that respective game master as well as they come across this article in their regular workflow. And I can see things blinking, so I'm just going to look at the telephone. Is there quite a question?
There are many questions. There's lots of interest on the lifetime link limit that you mentioned. And so what is that and how is it used?
As soon as we've worked our way basically from a very high number downwards over time, because at the beginning we didn't have as many people being able to either validate or publish articles. So we have a threshold that we can set for articles that are hitting a specific amount of lifetime links. Because if you have a problem that is happening only, let's say, twice every day, but then it happens over, the third of a year and it's not going away, we should probably be aware of this being a problem that we could look at. It's not really that urgent, but we do want to make sure that that information is available for those 2 customers per day. So that's when we're going to say, like, have a look at this article, validate it if you can, if you have the access right, or if you have publishing rights, please publish this so it is available externally.
So it's
answer the question?
Yeah. So just to confirm, it works so that it as sort of as a way to raise a flag on an article that is being reused very often, but is not either validated or published externally.
Exactly. Yes.
That's pretty cool. So do you have bottlenecks when articles have to be reviewed by a publisher?
We don't really, because that's the other thing. Over time, you arrive at a place where the content that has to be reviewed and published is really manageable. We have some spikes when we have patches and launches that I will tell you about again, like how we handle those kinds of situations a little further down. But in general, it's very manageable at this point.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to add is if you're having bottleneck troubles, learn to trust, let go, let KCS work for you. People can publish. It'll be fine.
Excellent.
I really had to. Are you okay? I really had to keep myself from going like in the background, my days go.
We would have awarded extra points for that. We have a question about what variables you consider for calculating deflection with Google Analytics, which maybe there's this, and there was another question that maybe I can send to you, Sabrina, and connect you with the people who are.
Let's talk more about that offline, because I think getting through this portion is a little more important, but I'm glad to help anybody who has questions on deflection.
Perfect. And then
I have,
just how many articles are in your knowledge base? How big is it?
Where are we at right now?
I think we're 30,
25 to 30.
yeah, 25 to 30,000. But we have a split between, a good portion is split between Asia and the ENUS, because we're in the process of trying to bring it all together.
And one question left for right now, which is who proofreads translations?
So that is currently then still being done by our support information group alongside our localization team and several of our multilingual employees in the different regions to proofread them. So this one is still in the works of being expanded out to our multilingual game masters.
One more. Do you have an every case has to have a link policy?
No.
Okay, I think we're caught up.
Okay. Now I have to remember what comes next. I apologize if oh yes, handling duplicates. That is a nice one. So we've integrated this process for our GM publishers as well. It was a little bit of a nervous one at the beginning because it is a final process if you merge two articles together, which is, the same process that happens in Salesforce Knowledge in the back end. It's final. You can't really reverse it. So what has been implemented, again, in HiveMind is that if you are a GM publisher, you have the article open that you're working with right now. You click on merge the article. You get this page or this little pop-up window. And what happens is you select if it's the child or the master article. If it's whatever you do when you merge the two articles, the child article will be automatically archived. So that's gone. The links that were in the child article will be automatically merged into the master article, keeping the date and timestamp intact. So you're not having a trending spike for a just recently merged article. You also have an automatic redirect created from the child article, just in case somebody has sent out that link to a player, like look at this article, and they click on that at a later point. We don't want them to arrive at a 404 page. They are going to be redirected to the master link. And as a little cherry on top, if you can see on the left-hand side, you can see if you put in the other article number, you will see the title of it at the bottom, just to double check, okay, am I merging the two correct ones? And just to make it extra safe, we have a, do you really want to do this? Are you really sure? Please reconsider. And then you can press the merge button, the merge article button, and everything else is sorted. And how do we make sure that we're moving in the right direction? So we were talking about localization, and here's just an excerpt of our localization report. Underneath these graphs, there is a large list of the articles that will show, at the top which one you should be looking first at. But this overview is showing you very nicely how our processes and the content health processes we put into place are really helping, making sure that the most impactful content reaches the biggest possible audience. So you see localized versus not localized here. Blue is localized, not localized is orange. So this doesn't look very good. But again, it includes all of our knowledge articles with different master languages. So let's select the master language of ENUS and look at only those articles that are external. So this is already looking better. We're having about 50% articles localized. That's not so great, to be honest, but what about the ones that are really seeing a lot of use? So what about those that have at least had 10 links in the last 24 hours? And now we're seeing very good numbers. 80% across the board for the Americas and Europe. Even our micro languages like Italian and Polish are showing above 70%. So we're moving in the right direction, and we're keeping an eye on making sure that these keep moving and expanding over time. So here's our current snapshot of our ENUS master language articles, where you can really nicely see how the more used an article is, there is movement through the different states. I keep a very close eye on the percentage of articles being published externally. We've moved very nicely from a very small percentage to over 20% of all of our articles, which is also nice in regards to the whole Pareto thing. So we have very new trending articles, slow burners, all these articles being validated or externally pushed.
Quick question about when you started your KCS adoption. How many years into this are you?
How many is it?
Yeah, so I always like to say it's about 5, but that includes assessment. It includes us learning about the process, really embedding ourselves in the consortium so that we really understood it, setting up some technical things. So we're probably sitting at about 3 years of actual operations.
And do game masters get time to author? If yes, what's the ratio versus supporting customers?
We do not go, hey, go into an aux and author, or hey, go monitor this queue. No, it's part of the workflow. Given the fact that the majority of what comes through is asynchronous, they have the time to work through both the ticket and authoring. There's a little bit of rub that comes down to live chat and the addition. Part of some of our push is to sort of information is better than none, and I don't expect perfection. So please just put whatever you have, even if it's a copy of the chat. It's going to be helpful for the next person who has the time to edit.
How do you assess performance of your employees?
Standard contact center measurements and requirements, such as productivity, CSAT, etc. We do not have link rate listed as a key performance indicator, but rather a shadow metric. So for example, if productivity has slipped some, but authoring and link rate is high, it gives the manager the ability to sort of dig in and understand what's actually occurred as opposed to a hard line. Most everything that we have in terms of metrics have a sliding scale.
And how was the cultural adoption process? And I think maybe this question is about implementing in a multicultural organization.
So there's going to be 2 answers to this. I'm going to have one. I'm going to have Heidi take another. Heidi actually originated in our European office, which is going to definitely have a different vantage point. But from a overall program management perspective, it's important to have everybody. You got to be a Pied Piper. Let's just be honest, right? Like you need to be able to sort of sell and have them understand what that means. And then you need and must have commitment from your technical groups in order to sort of help you push whatever piece of tech you have go forward. Because you're going to make some assumptions that are going to be completely wrong. I have a long laundry list of things that I thought were right in my interpretation of what the KCS process would look like within Blizzard that were completely and utterly wrong. And so I need that technical group to sort of help me unscrew my decisioning. So with that, it really is about getting everybody moving on board. And if they feel and believe that they can make an impact on the product, you get really good buy-in. But you then have to show it and prove it. So we're constantly talking about what our wins are. In fact, Heidi's going to share a couple of those with you in terms of examples of how product is actually influenced via KCS. But let's talk about cultural adoption, especially in multicultural environments.
So yeah, I started in Cork, in our Cork office, in the KCS program. I was a group manager at that point, and yes, it is, as Sabrina says, you really have to explain what is also in it for the game masters, because of course at the beginning, but I'm going to lose time with this. We've made a lot of work, or we've put a lot of effort into our HiveMind page to also capture timestamps of specific actions that are happening, to be able to make sure that we're not asking undoable things of our game masters. We've measured how long or how much time is being spent creating or editing articles based on those timestamps, and could find out that in comparison to only the customer-facing scheduled hours is less than 1% of the time. And that kind of information, if you have game masters who are really struggling with that, we can have conversations like, okay, what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to, create a perfect article from the get-go? Because this is not what KCS is about. KCS is about iteration. Put in what you have, and then it will just grow over time. KCS will let you know where you should look, where you should refine, where you need to polish, just based on reuse. We also do regular surveys, just on a side note, to identify areas of concern for our game masters, things that are really not working that well, and also checking in how high the trust in the content is that is found in KCS itself, because the trust in the content that is entered by their coworkers is going to tell you a lot about how big the buy-in is, and we're having like over 80% being very, very satisfied with the content in there, in both the Americas and Europe. So, yeah.
Okay, couple more quick questions. Can the game masters start an article in their case before they move to HiveMind?
No, that is not possible right now, but it has been coming up, and it is something that is on our list of things that we would like to tackle eventually. But there have been a lot of other areas that we wanted to focus on first.
Do you have a sense of your average time to create and average time to edit an article?
I think it's, to create, it's about, we're talking less than 5 minutes.
And do you have a sense of how much cost per ticket decreased since implementing KCS, just as a percentage, maybe? We don't necessarily discuss cost of a ticket in regards to any kind of communications with our game masters, or I don't know if you want to have another.
I'm willing to say it's gone down, but there's lots of things that are in that particular number going down. As it relates to management of it, we're constantly looking at that, so I can't say it's a single and sole contributor, but one of the things it is a sole contributor for is the overall number of ticket reduction going down, right? It's like we handled the fewest number of tickets through a World of Warcraft launch than we've ever done before, right? So it's like fewer and fewer tickets because the information's ready and available. We don't want to be the stopgap to prevent you from having fun, so here's the answer: go play the game.
Excellent. You mentioned your 3 years in operation of KCS plus another 2 years of learning and assessment. How many of your folks are trained and certified, and when did that initially happen in the 5-year life cycle? And related, how long did people start buying in satisfactorily for KCS to start rolling, where they stopped resisting and started really practicing?
So we're not certified. It is one of those things where we are pushing for certification dollars in this year. But we have been incredibly active members, massive consumers, massive networkers within the KCS world. As it relates to training in terms of our flow and process that started immediately. And as it relates to adoption, we utilize the wave format for adoption. So once I had this handful of people in each of the locations utilizing it, feeling super special, being part of something that's new, and talking about that at the water cooler and talking about this interesting new process. Plus, I did a lot of road work. I hit the streets and proselytized it in front of everyone at every single level as to what we were trying to accomplish, and then let them know that it was coming in these small waves. People were begging to be part of the next wave. Sort of, you know, the nightclub mentality. If you keep them waiting, they can't wait to be part of it. It works.
Excellent. I have heard it said, says this question from Liddy, that you cannot game a gamer. Do you use any behavior design elements to boost participation in KCS?
The way we say is we hire gamers so gamers are going to game. And so the key to this is don't make it something that they have to reach or retain. It's the reason why link rates cannot be a hard metric. A gamer will figure out how to make it 100% every time. So we talk over and over about how quality is better than quantity. It's like a religion at this point. So quality, quality, quality all the way, without AQI, mind you.
I'm curious. Okay. Do you have KCS implemented for infrastructure teams and or second or third level support?
So we really only have, we look at support as one level, and we've got some areas where we've got distinction that occurs within small buckets. Like, for example, we have a tech team that really works as a consultancy for the rest of the organization. They will also take tickets as well if it's a harder problem, but they're embedded within this process as well. One of the processes that we have within our organization is customer service for a day, where our groups come in from various different areas of the business and go through it. Once they've seen KCS, they definitely want access to KCS, and we gladly give it to them. We are pushing more and more for their adoption to also participate in adding information, because right now that workflow generally happens via email through a relationship-based manager sort of situation. So then that manager then adds it back into the system within customer service. So it's one of those things, like we're getting adoption across, especially as they see it. Our game teams and our product teams are definitely hungry to receive. Once they started getting the much more detailed information, they want access, and now we're building it inside of their pipelines as well. So that way we've got data included within their workflows as well as our own.
And I know we're coming up here to the top of the hour, and I don't know how much more content you want to share with us, but we do have some deep interest in the fact that we think we heard you say that you don't have or use AQI, and how do you ensure quality without it?
KCS is something where tons of people touch it. It will work itself out, and crap articles don't get used. They become duplicates or they get dismissed, right? Articles that are written well and have edited well bubble up to the top. The process itself is its own AQI. It doesn't need it. It's an archaic system left over from 1990s customer service. Let it go.
Let it go.
See, we knew we could do it.
And I think actually that we might have a conversation about that at an upcoming team meeting, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we do have that penciled in as well.
Excellent. All right, carry on.
All right, let's go. We have 2 more slides. We'll knock those out and we can ask more questions.
And I'm sure you're going to like these, because now we're going into really
tangible.
Yes. So somebody was asking earlier about, how fast an article can be external. So we work differently based on the status of our operation. So let's think about when we have a launch of a new game or a patch. We do not want to wait until the first contact hits the game master. We have our voice of the player team that will utilize machine learning, my apologies, to analyze the ticket text and find clusters that describe player problems. What they then will do is create a KCS article only stating that problem statement, and also they will create a bug request or a bug testing request to our development team or our QA team. Those two will be linked within HiveMind. It will be visible for the game master, who eventually will pick up the first ticket describing this customer problem. It will look like this associated bugs window here. The game master can find more information about the state of this bug by clicking on this link. He can also see the status of this bug, if it's being in process, in retest, if it's implemented, or if it's closed. Because this ticket has already, or this problem has already been identified, the article will also be reviewed and made ready for external publishing. And quite literally, what we're going to put into an article like this is something along the lines of, we have received multiple reports on this. We're looking into it. We're not verifying it's a bug. We're not saying it's broken, anything. This is what's online. And you can see this first trend line is the linking, the article links. And the second line is our Google Analytics for this specific article, where you can see the blue line is the unique visits to this page. The red line is converters, or how many of the players have actually sent a link. We're talking about roughly 100 per day for either of these. So we already have a 50% ticket creation reduction or deflection. And after 2 weeks, this legacy content problem that previously would have been somehow grouped in with a lot of gameplay issues or gameplay bugs has been resolved and removed all the future tickets for this very specific problem. And because I'm also very conscious of time, this is all we have. Oh, no, I have one more. Sorry, I completely forgot. Very quickly, we're not only doing this for bugs in game, we're using the knowledge that we've collected also to help with other tools like our Battle.net application that also hosts our account management. They have implemented automated account recovery process, which has been very good and had no impact or no negative impact on account security. There has been game design guideline updates based on gameplay mechanics that have previously caused confusion. They were working as intended, but they did create a lot of customer contacts. We are working on the self-service to grant access to the suggested articles to our players based on the ticket text they're entering. We have more on that in a future meeting. And we also have a look at those articles that seek continuous use, but the root cause cannot be resolved because maybe it's too expensive or other reasons. And we then look at options to mitigate that problem by automating processes for either our customers or our game masters. That was the last one. Now, my apologies. What questions do you have besides the many that have already been asked?
There is a lot of excitement in the chat. Everyone is wildly impressed with both the creatures on your slides and the content itself. And yes, we did record this presentation, and I will send out a link to the folks who have registered. So it looks like we have so much gratitude, and I'm looking to see, are the articles linked? As in, are they in World of Warcraft already, or is this another source of content?
So the support site is rendered inside of World of Warcraft, yes.
Excellent. And otherwise, I see customers have to log in to provide feedback on an article. Can you tell us more about what happens to this feedback?
It gets processed and looked at, and we work through it. The login process, just like any other website, is anonymity creates trolls, and logging in prevents them.
And there's queues or something where feedback gets shuttled to the appropriate place. Did you say that? Sorry, I was...
Very similar to our hashtag feedback process within the KCS process. It's the support information team will review it and process it as needed.
Excellent. One comment is, this is awesome, and my family uses your articles all the time. So it's great to see how this works on the back end.
Good.
And otherwise, we are at the top of the hour, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. You can find future events on the kcsacademy.net. And if you have a story to share, send it my way, and we'll get you all set up to do a KCS in action presentation. Thank you so much, Sabrina and Heidi. This was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day, everybody.
You too, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.